So yesterday we chatted about the definition of division, which is what? It is multiplying by the reciprocal.
Oh, it says that.
Okay, so multiplying by the reciprocal is the definition of division. So we used a quick way of remembering is that you keep the first fraction, you flip the second fraction, KFC, and you change the operation. KFC, keep, flip, change. So for any of these problems that have a division, you keep the first fraction, you reciprocal or flip the second fraction, and you change from division to multiplication. So now we're going to upgrade. We're going to go from monomials, and remember what a monomial is. A monomial means single term. So 120 is a monomial. 4x squared is a monomial. Why? Because nothing's being added or subtracted to or from it. These are all monomials in each particular place. Now downstairs here at number 9, this is a binomial right here because there are two terms. This is a monomial, and a binomial. So we still have to follow the same rules. We're going to factor. We're going to reduce accordingly. So the first thing here, I notice that in this binomial, I can factor out a 6 from both terms. So I'm going to rewrite that to be 6 times 1 minus 3x. The denominator I'm going to leave as is because technically it's factored, not prime factored, just because it's in multiplication form. The x cubed I'll leave as is. And then this denominator I can factor out a 2, so I can GCF out a 2 to get 2 times 1 minus 3x. Now we begin the fun part. 1 minus 3x as its entirety. Do not knock down the 1 and the 1, and then the negative 3x and the negative 3x individually. The whole thing as one unit. Next, we can pull down a 6. That can reduce with the 4 a little bit. So we got a 3 and a 2. And I see I have all the x's from the denominator and 2 of the x's from the numerator. So keeping track of what I have in the numerator, I have a 3x. And in the denominator, I have a 2 times a 2, which clearly is quattro.
I'm so lost right now.
So let's continue on our journey here and take a gander here. What does division mean? Multiply by the reciprocal. So the first fraction, I'm going to keep k. Now I'm going to flip this one, kf. And now I'm going to see by changing that. KFC, keep, flip, change. Multiply by the reciprocal. Now begins the fun part. All of it, x plus 2 and the x plus 2. Not the x's, not the 2's, but the x plus 2's. 5 over negativo quattro. And it doesn't really matter where you put the negative. The negative could be outside, so it looks like this, negative 5/4. You could say negative 5 over 4, or you could say 5 over negative 4. Technically, they're all the same. However, the most common one is going to be this one, where we just go ahead and put the negative outside. And now we look at 11. What do we do? We're league champions. I'm excited. So, what can we do here? So, because I see a division, I'm going to KFC.
It sounded like
And I'm going to factor at the same time. Notice that the numerator does not need to factor. What happens to the denominator here? We have a difference of 2 squares. So it does not die yet. In a moment it will be reduced. Now I am going to KFC at the same time and factor what is now the numerator. So this x squared minus x moves to the top floor and factors out an x, a GCF there. And notice that the x minus 7, which is originally in the penthouse suite up here, now gets shoved into the basement and does not need to be factored any further. And now the best part.
How'd you learn to do that?
And we see here we have an x solamente y también aquí x más uno. Y la respuesta
I don't know Spanish.
is this answer here. All right, let's look at number 12 here on the next page. And we're going to apply the exact same rules. Remember, at times, we're going to GCF if we can. Notice this term here, GCFs. Or excuse me, this expression here. Down below this expression, I'm going to use the snowflake. And upstairs is already factored. X plus 3 is as far as we can go. We can't GCF anything, etc. So, and please make note, this one is a fraction, but it's hidden. What's the hidden piece of this fraction? What is not written?
All over 1.
It's all over 1. Good. So you don't have to write that, but it might benefit some of us to actually write it in fraction form so we know what reduces with what. Okay, so let's begin our journey. The x plus 3 is already done. Ka-chow. Now, the x squared plus 5x plus 6 can be snowflaked in such a manner as this. So I have 5 plus 1 is 6. Excuse me, where's my mistake? Good, so what's my mistake? What's my mistake? I was doing 5 times 1 is 5. And 5 plus 1 is 6, but it's the other way around because 2 times 3 should be the top number. And 2 plus 3 is 5. So x plus 2 and x plus 3 for the denominator. And now over here, I can factor out a 5. And you can write it over 1 or not. Now we begin the next part. And we're left with a Cinco de Mayo. Now let's look at number 13. Evil, unlucky number 13. How do we handle this monkey? Well, we remember that this is all over 1. So when I KFC, because I have a division, I'm going to do 2 things at once. I'm going to factor anything that can be factored. And in the first fraction, nothing factors anywhere. And I'm going to KFC at the same time. So the denominator, which originally was the numerator, is a difference of 2 squares, x squared minus 25, now factors to x plus 5 times x minus 5. And now that I have it in factored form and as a multiplication, that's French for multiplication, I can start destroying things. And that's it. Not the x's, not the 5s, but the x plus 5s. And what's left in the numerator? A lonely little one. And what's left in the denominator? All of this here, eh? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I'm going to leave it like this. You do not need to FOIL or double distribute down the bottom. We just leave it in factored form because that is, number 1, simple, and number 2, clear.
Yeah.
So we're going to use all our mad skills here. In the numerator, I'm going to factor out a 2, so go ahead and start working while I am. In the denominator here, I'm going to say difference of 2 squares, so x minus 5 times x plus 5. Then no KFC. So the next part here is going to snowflake, and I'm going to put 6 in the bottom, 5 on the top, and x is on the wings. So we have a 5 and a 1. So, and now we can write it out as x plus 5 times x plus 1 all over the difference of 2 squares, x minus 3 and x plus 3. All right, now we can really reduce things. X minus 3's drop out, the x plus 5's drop out, and that is all. I would like it if more dropped out, but it didn't. So now in the numerator, I have a 2 times an x plus 1. And in the denominator, I have an x minus 5 and an x plus 3. We should leave it in factored form. We should leave it in factored form so that we can see that nothing else reduces. Let's go ahead and start knocking down things. In the first fraction, the x plus 3 remains as is. in the denominator there, I can factor that to be x minus 5 times x plus 2. Now I'm going to KFC while I do this. The numerator, which is the x plus 3, now moves to the denominator there. And then this here can factor out an 8. So I bring out an an 8 times x plus 2. And now the satisfying part where we start to reduce, the x plus 2's drop out, the x plus 3's drop out. I'm left with an 8 in the numerator. Folks, and now we get this as our final answer. 8 divided by x minus 5. Doop, 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 doop.